Enchiridion by Epictetus. Epictetus was born around 50 AD, born as a Greek slave until he became a philosopher later on in his life. His teachings are laid out in his book, Enchiridion. It's a short manual of Stoic ethical advice put together by Epictetus' student, Arion. The text is well known in the ancient world, reaching its height of popularity in the 17th century, working in parallel with the rise of the Neo-Stoicism movement. The word enchiridion in ancient Greek is an adjective meaning ready to hand. Coupled with the word book, it simply translates to a handy book or handbook. The principles which are discussed in his text were teachings that his pupils should have ready to hand. It's composed of 53 short chapters, typically containing 1 or 2 paragraphs. The main question raised was how to achieve happiness. He argued that happiness requires freedom, but to be happy is to be free. Epictetus' distinction between the things that do not depend on us and things that do. By focusing on the things that depend on us, our judgments, our desires, our likes, our dislikes, is what makes us free. In other words, we must focus on our own actions. We should simplify what we are concerned with, freeing ourselves from our emotional attachment to all the things that happen in this massive world. Epictetus tells us that it's impossible for us to avoid what is unpleasant. By building ourselves up, we are able to face these things without disturbance. This is summed by Epictetus' passage. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. It's not the events of our lives or the external things, but the judgments we make that are significant to us. For example, as mortal beings, we cannot avoid dying, but we have the power to decide what meaning we give to death. What disturbs men are not things, but they judge things. Thus, death is nothing terrible, but the decision we make on the death by declaring it terrible, that is what is terrible. So many of our judgments are negative. We must work on our judgments and change. Through this reflection, we can reach happiness. Do not ask for things to happen as you wish, but will that things happen as they arrive, and you will be happy. Epictetus also narrows in on his thoughts on the body by realizing that all aspects of our lives can't reach us, only judgments. Through this thinking, we become invincible. Nothing can reach us without our consent. The disease is a barrier for the body, but not the will if it wants to. Lameness is an impediment for the legs, but not the will. You say the same for each accident, and you will find it an impediment to something else, but not for you. Epictetus writes, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen." Constantly swimming against a current makes us tired, moving virtually nowhere. Acting according to virtue is the main goal. By reacting to things that don't go away, we start moving the wrong direction. We must pursue goals that we feel hold real purpose, but we must also be prepared to let them go if fate decides to change direction. We must remember that there are few things that we actually need in life. Things that don't bring us happiness are not worth your time. Everything in life may be taken away from us at some point. By grieving these lost objects, we lose even more time and energy. Epictetus preached that nothing in this life is ours to keep. We must focus on the only thing that matters, ourselves, the power we hold as human beings. Through this, we have the capability to be amazing. To conclude his work, Epictetus stresses to the reader the importance of choosing the rules and laws to live by, and the commitment that you make to these rules. He explains that philosophy's most significant topic is the practical application of principles, stating that people often focus too much on explaining reasoning behind principles rather than practically applying them. Philosophy's purpose is to improve, to inspire. Without practical application, we miss an entire aspect of Stoicism. So how can we practically apply these reasons to everyday life? Changing your mindset. Stop seeing misfortunes as misfortunes. In most cases, misfortunes are not caused by our own actions. In these circumstances, we don't control it, and therefore we must tell ourselves that it doesn't matter. We shouldn't waste our energy on aspects of life that don't concern us. By repeatedly believing this, we no longer waste our time on dwelling over things that are out of our control. Another important takeaway and application is the limiting of one's desires and aversion. Stop pinning your hopes on one fixed outcome. By freeing up possibilities, by moving past a primary outcome, everything will be fine, no matter what happens. But we must remember to not let our character become corrupted.